Welcome back, everyone, to another incredible episode of Chat with Dan here for today on the show. What can I say? We're having already the best Wednesday because we have on the show the incredible, the amazing, the badass, the superstar, the legendary, the one and only, the incredible, even a superhero. Let's find out. B Hale, how are you today?
I'm good. Thanks for inviting me. I'm really excited to have some good conversations.
Yeah, what better way to have an incredible, super badass day than to be chatting with someone as badass as you? You know what I mean?
I could not agree more.
I love it. Now, without further more, let's jump in. So, I want to start this whole conversation by throwing out, the very first question, which is when you first stepped into acting, what do you think it would give you and what has given you?
I think, I don't want to say what everyone does, but I've found that a lot of us step into acting to find some form of validation for the way that our brains work or for our creativity or our uniqueness. And that's totally human and totally normal. But it can be fruitless when a lot of what comes with this is rejection and being able to not take that as something you have to internalize. So what I've learned is humility, and I found freedom in that humility. I don't have to be anything more than what I am, and that has given me freedom to play and make really great friendships on set and be in the moment with the people that I work with instead of feeling obligated to fulfill some idea of what I think will get me validation in this industry.
And have you found that playing characters sometimes reveals truth about yourself that you didn't want to face?
Absolutely. Majority of the characters that I've played so far have been really mean girls in these verticals in terms of just cattiness, and in order to play roles in general, you have to be able to see why somebody would be behaving the way that they are, what is driving them, what is motivating them. And jealousy is often at the root of the characters that I'm playing, and don't I hate jealousy in my body. So it's enlightening to see there's no such thing as bad guys. There's people having different experiences than you. And that doesn't mean that it's justified in the way that they behave, but you can understand why instead of it just being the way that they are. So that's taught me a lot in terms of just seeing my everyday people as human, taking things less personally in general, and understanding that a lot of the time it might have nothing to do with me, what somebody, is treating me like. It has a lot to do with how they're feeling inside.
Has, with all of the characters you have played and everything, does that has changed your mind a little bit about society as well, especially in the during this time we're currently living in, or not at all?
Yeah, it's been really easy in this horrible time that we're living in, especially with all the social media where people are so brazen and so bold, and also feeling more defensive because they're constantly seeing, the opposite of what I'm seeing, or whatever I'm seeing is making me really anxious. So if I do decide to speak up in the comments, it feels like, the need to defend oneself. But playing through characters like this and having those realizations, everybody is human. And yeah, some people are making bad choices. Watch your thoughts, they become your words become your habits and your character and your destiny, et cetera, et cetera. But everybody is perceiving a much more serious, unchangeable version of people than we can actually see. We're only seeing one facet of somebody and not why the way that they are. And it's helped me believe that the type of friendships that I keep, which are really deep friendships where we push each other to grow and ask questions of ourselves, and are the things that matter, as opposed to standing up and screaming at somebody, fuck you, and excuse our language. But it's changed my perspective because I'm from New Jersey, which I'm not sure how much you know about it, but we are very much I'm the first person to get up and start screaming at somebody and, being like, who are you talking to? Whatever. But playing these characters really made me realize that that's just creating more of a divide instead of seeing everybody as human and knowing that there is potential. And if we're going to use that potential to find a way to meet in the middle, we have to work hard to do it. And that includes choosing to try and see past what we're most affected by somebody else.
It's crazy how suddenly it became super important to define your ideas and your beliefs. You know what I mean? To actually say it loud to them. As back then, we have everybody believing a different thing, but everybody was minding their own business. We could have a conversation. Perhaps we might disagree in certain topics, but at the end, we have like a cool friendship. We can work it out. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like suddenly, people just became like super aggressive and super violently and extra protective on things that, sure, some of them might be important, but at the end of the day, you know what I mean? Why? We are all living in the same place on the same planet, and it's just sometimes nonsense on how much the division is going, and And it's true. I mean, to a point that if you express your opinion on a comment or if you post something, people might react different and then they get super aggressive on it, and they take it personally when I'm like, you know what I mean? It's just,
Well, I think what we're picking up on is the state of urgency that everybody feels in their bodies right now. It is a crazy time and everybody just feels this urgency. And we do project it onto any individual interaction that we have. You know, this is my chance to show somebody the light, or this is my chance to stand up for what I believe in. And it feels like there's so much urgency because of how crazy things are. And it's got to be a lot harder. I know I'm struggling with keeping that balance and reminding myself of what's within my realm of influence, my realm of control, instead of feeling like I need to figure out how to impact things at a level that an individual, in my position can't. It's a group effort and we're in this together, and it's not on all of our backs as individuals, apart from showing up as good, genuine people
mhm,
and caring about others, caring
totally.
to listen to others who are different than us, caring to have real conversations, and trying to keep fear from being what's driving the words that we're using, or the tone, or the choices, because those aren't usually the choices that we end up really believing in later on. I think that if you want to share an opinion, it has to be a dialogue, and both parties have to be respectful and not only seek to be understood, but really be working to understand where the other person is coming from. Because the more you do that, the easier it is to communicate what you're actually feeling in a way that resonates with them from where they're standing. And so I think that right now, with all that urgency, it is a really hard time for people to have those conversations without the defensiveness coming back in, or whoever you're talking to, if you disagree with them, it doesn't, all of a sudden, it doesn't feel like you're speaking to an individual. It feels like you're speaking to the face of that thing that terrifies you.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's hard for us to separate and realize that that's not inherently the case, that you're speaking to another human, and you do have the time to slow down and speak respectfully. And if somebody else can't engage in conversation in that way, where you are going back and forth and not necessarily agreeing but not dismissing one another or being disrespectful, then you walk away from those conversations because they're not beneficial. But yeah, it's been a time where people really are struggling to do that. I struggle to do that myself. Not to be having a conversation with somebody who comes from a completely different perspective than my own, but is similar to perspectives that have hurt me in the past, and not see them as like the face in that moment of that entire issue, instead of just a person with perspective on that issue.
I start to discover why you're badass. You're giving me these vibes here. You know,
Well, I'm loving the conversation.
pretty cool. Pretty cool. Now, tell me what's been harder for you, the moments of failure or the moments of success, and why?
Definitely the moments of failure, because just like any other person, I feel like, on the planet, those are the moments when I have to remind myself not to internalize, right? That's not, the rejection isn't inherent of my abilities forever, or what I am. It's just an experience. And so keeping that in mind in an area that is so, a field and industry that is so success oriented, Grammys and Emmys and all of these things. They're nice goals to aspire to. But if those are the things that I'm like, this will mean my life is successful, and these are the things that bring me meaning, those failures feel crippling. Whereas when I remind myself that success, just being a successful human, means showing up for yourself, loving the people around you, being good to your friends, being good to your partner, being good to yourself, just being happy, and having, taking pride in the way that you move, is what I truly believe is success. But in this industry, sometimes you forget it and you have to remind yourself. So the failure is definitely harder to deal with, because when I do get my successes, when I've gotten my bookings and had a great run, I didn't ever struggle with like the ego of like, well, I must be the best thing since sliced bread. You know what I mean? It was just like, cool, this was the right time for me, and I get to enjoy this, and I really am enjoying this. And thank you so much, universe, for my blessings.
Yeah, yeah, pretty cool. Do you think the pursuit of recognition changes an actor's relationship with their craft?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you can't be in pursuit of recognition without comparing yourself to others, right? Those who've gained that recognition. And comparison is the killer of happiness. Like they say that for a reason, because it's just true. And if you're trying to be emulating somebody else, the best you can be is a B-rated version of that person, as opposed to showing up as the A-rate version of yourself without the influence of what I think they might want so that I can be seen the way this person is seen. Or that's when you're going to get recognition, because it's your uniqueness that people want to see, and they'll recognize you in a crowd. That's what recognition truly is, as opposed to fandom. If you're seeking, to be recognized and sought after, you can't do that without comparing yourself to others. And then you muddy the waters of like showing up authentically as yourself.
What's the most beautiful lie you had to tell on screen, or the most painful truth you've had to embody?
I think that anytime I have to play a character who's deeply jealous, it's hard. Like that is the hardest to do, because it feels like we all know what it feels like. It feels like you're just not good enough. And without some form of prize, whether it's in these cases getting the man that the girl is stalking or whatever the case may be, it's not being able to draw any validation from within yourself. You feel like you're floating, you feel like you're worthless. And it starts from comparison. That's how it always starts. So it feels the strongest, like it leaves the strongest residue when I'm done with the character of that, like, oh, no, I'm good. I don't need an, I'm great. So that's been probably the most painful truth to play, because it is something we've all felt, and it will come right back to you if you imagine and sit in it, which is my method for getting into these characters.
Okay. And at the same time, how you are able to protect your own identity, when you're constantly slipping into basically the lives of others.
Yeah, I mean, I've been very fortunate. I'm really big on chosen family. I've built great, deep friendships. My partner is also an actor. He's wonderfully grounding. I have 4 rescue dogs. So I focus immediately on grounding and doing things completely unrelated to having an acting career. I play with my dogs, I play with clay, I sing silly songs with my partner, whatever it may be. I cook. I just remind myself that this is the life that I'm grounded in, and that was just somewhere to play for a little while. And so I'm working to find that balance on when I'm doing things like jealousy or harder things, that I'm not letting those emotions take over me. I'm actually playing and exploring in them, because I'm safe to do that, and those things don't control me or hurt my life. And reminding myself of that balance when it's a more icky feeling type of character, in combination with using like actual grounding tools at home. That's how I've been able so far to keep that balance.
Okay. Do you have like a go-to meal or a go-to playlist, after a long day on set? Or
So, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. I like my partner makes a mean steak, and I've been really into this Korean rice cake dish called tteokbokki lately, which is like Korean rice cakes and like a spicy gochujang sauce. And they're so good. And they're like kind of like gnocchi in texture, so they're really satisfying. So he'll make me the steak and I'll make that, and we'll sit down and usually watch Gilmore Girls, which is like, I grew up watching that show with my mom and my sister every day at night. That's what we would do, and we would order takeout and watch it, just 3 of us together, single mom, and it was the pinnacle of like safety in my childhood. So those two activities combined are like almost instantaneously back to normal B.
If storytelling is a mirror of humanity, what part of humanity do you hope your work reflects?
Oof, that was a great question too. I would like for my work to reflect the triumph of human spirit, as well as how naturally inclined we are towards community. Like you see shows like Orange is the New Black when you're in a situation like prison, and but the show is based around the friendships these women form, like how we're naturally going to form relationships with people even under the worst of circumstances. And that's part of what I'd like my work to reflect, as well as how we are able to bounce back from the things that happen to us, and how we can earn redemption from the things that we do and have done.
Has there ever been a role that felt like destiny?
Not so much a role, but each opportunity that I've had has felt like destiny, in terms of like the people that I've met and worked with. I'm relatively green to the industry, so it's been so nice to be on these sets where everybody was engaged, hardworking, but also willing to explain what's going on, and create together and give me a little freedom to play and have, talented actors to play with, their energy giving me ideas and vice versa. And I got to work with the same director 3 times. I adore him. He's incredibly talented. He gets everybody to do their best work and gets everybody in a good vibe so that we're able to deliver. So those things have felt like destiny in terms of that being my first experience, those being my first experiences into the industry, really solidifying that I want to be here and that there's so much more than I even saw when I wanted to come in the first place. But a specific character role, I haven't yet played anything that I was just like, oh my God, this resonates so strongly. So I've played villains thus far, and I don't. It can be fun when I like able to release it, but in general, I don't love being mean to people. So it took a while to like remember that we're playing, and fortunately, all the actresses that I've had to be mean to, we build a friendship on the set, so we're just fooling around.
Do you think an actor's greatest performance is one that entertains, one that heals, or one that makes people uncomfortable?
I think it could be any of those things. I think that trying to narrow an actor's, greatest performance down to just one would be dismissing the perspective of the individual consumer, patron. There's things that people in my, acting classes or on set would completely disagree with, or the greatest works of all time of Robin Williams or whatever it may be. But that doesn't take away that that was the most meaningful work to me, that I still carry those words with me, that the energy behind, you know what I mean? I think it could be any of those things. And I think it's likely all of those things. It's just about how it's consumed.
Did you ever saw this interview they did to Tim Curry years ago, in which they asked him like, "Hey, how does it feel that you traumatize a whole generation due to your role as it?" Right? And he was just laughing, and then he was like, "That's amazing." You know what I mean? So I do think also that you can actually impact people by being uncomfortable, scary, funny,
Oh,
and
absolutely.
that's amazing. You know?
Absolutely. And those are opportunities for us to ask ourselves, oh my gosh, why did that just make me so uncomfortable? Like, what about that? And then we learn more about ourselves just through that experience. Yeah, any of those things. It depends on how it impacts the individual.
That's the thing here. It's beautiful, and that is what I find the most amazing about TV shows, films, like all of that. Like the fact that how much can you impact someone? You can inspire them. You can, yeah, like how much, like even though, and it's amazing, right? Like even though that what you're watching, that it's fiction, right? It's not real,
Mhm.
but the emotions you're having at that point, they're real because they come from you. You know what I mean? I think there's
Absolutely. Just matter
there's
and they're
more to
real.
it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, there's more to it that just sit and watch something that and be like, yeah, it was cool. I mean, when you actually open the door to let your feelings explore to it, it's amazing because it
Absolutely.
can impact you in so many ways. So
Yeah, art heals, art teaches, art influences. Yeah, it's definitely not just sitting and I mean, if I'm sitting and watching Jackass, I'm probably not going to take too much away from it. It's not going to stop me from sitting and watching it. Grew up on it. However, maybe not everything is that we can watch or can be consumed as art, but there's a lot of art out there and it all matters.
totally. I mean, if it makes you laugh, if it makes you, I mean, I do agree the same thing. I mean, there's content that is perfect for you to sit, disconnect your brain, and just enjoy it.
Right,
And that's
right.
the way it is, and that's
And
fine.
and that's a great tool. It's
Totally.
important to use the tools available to you to take care of yourself.
There you go. More badass. I like it. What is the cost of vulnerability for you? Not just in front of the camera, but in life.
I mean, in my mind, when I'm scared of vulnerability, the cost is my sense of safety, right? The cost is the ground I'm standing on being ripped out from under my feet. That's what I tell myself, or I'm able to tell myself from time to time. In reality, vulnerability doesn't cost a thing. It pays you. It reinforces the idea that showing up authentically cannot harm you. That you, as a grown adult, whatever fears, traumas, whatever you have, sure, it may not be your fault that they are there to begin with, but now they're your responsibility and you have the complete freedom to take care of them. They don't have to be neglected or left behind. You know, the self talk can be positive and that's what it should be. So being vulnerable, even if it resulted in rejection or dismissal, isn't as big a threat as we tell ourselves, or I tell myself that it is in my head. It always ends up being like, oh, well, I know that I said exactly what I meant. This person just didn't get it, and that's okay. or, this just wasn't the interaction, and that's cool. But anytime that I avoid vulnerability because of that fear, I reinforce the idea that they could have hurt me in the first place. It pays me. It makes
Yeah,
me
yeah,
feel
yeah,
brave.
absolutely. Do you believe your art will outlive you? And if so, what do you hope it says?
I hope it outlives me. I think it's hard to say in an age where we have so much mass media consumption. And, I'm struggling to even find streaming or even DVD copies of some of the things I liked to watch in my childhood, like Life Size. But apart from, not knowing if it's possible for most things to outlive me, if it did, I would hope that it gave people a similar feeling that Gilmore Girls gives me. Like going home, like rooting you back to yourself, like being with friends who really know who you are, and you don't have to perform, and you don't have to double guess or overanalyze yourself. You're just home being experiencing in joy and pain, whatever it is, but it's a safety.
Now, switching to our next section, speed round questions, yes, no, pass. Super simple. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions in which you can only answer yes, no, or pass. You ready?
Gotcha. Hmm.
So, do you believe every role changed you?
No.
Have you ever turned down a role you still think about?
No.
Do you think rejection is a gift?
Yes.
Is acting more about truth than talent?
Yes.
Is starting small? Oh yeah, is starting small underrated?
Yes.
Have you ever felt more at home in a character than that in your own skin?
No.
Do you believe success without pain exists?
No.
Have you ever considered leaving acting behind?
Yeah.
Do you think the world still values great storytelling over quick entertainment?
Yes.
Do you believe patience is more valuable than speed in a creative career?
Yes.
And can you cry on cue?
I cannot.
Fair enough. Pretty cool. Now, before wrapping up here, tell me what motivates you. We all have those days that we just want to quit. It's inevitable, happens to all of us. So, how you stay positive on a day that, is one of those days in which you're like, ah, shit. You know what I mean?
For me, it's reminding myself that I don't have to be doing anything. And choosing to do something doesn't mean that I've decided to do it forever. So I have the freedom at any point to decide not to do that thing, which means that there's no loss in continuing that commitment when the only, logical things I can look back on in those experiences were things that brought me joy. I try not to ever move from a place of complete of like lack of motivation or self-worth questioning, because I've too many times in my life moved from there and then regretted whatever decisions I made because they weren't really aligned with how I felt. So when I'm feeling like I don't want to do this anymore, I don't know what or when the next blessing will be, and that's stressful. I remind myself that the blessings are in every moment, and acting, as wonderful and as enjoyable it is something I'm choosing to do, not something I have to do or my life won't have meaning. And that freedom usually allows me to sit in it till the feelings go away and continue to do what's fun. And it's still fun.
Pretty cool. In general, in your art, what do you want to leave behind in people's hearts?
I would like to leave behind a sense of empowerment, that you can rebuild that friendship, that you can make more friends, that you can write that thing that you wanted to write, that you can start being a tattoo artist at 45, 85. You can start uh, becoming a sculptor after your law career. You can do whatever you would like to do, because what matters is how you show up, not where you show up.
Okay. And my last question here, so we can all enjoy and relax after an epic chat here. So, what do you think that could be the best title for this episode?
I think I wrote something down. I was saying a first rate you, second rate them. So you can be a first rate you or a second rate version of someone else.
Gonna drop the mic, basically. You're killing it, so gonna drop it. That's pretty cool. I like it. Sounds like a franchise. I mean, who knows? Maybe at some point we're talking about the next big project. Just saying.
That's true. You never
That's
know
pretty
what's
cool.
next.
I never know. And I think, what can I say? The fact that you're doing what makes you happy, I mean, that is super cool. I mean, we all know that doing outside the typical 9 to 5, the typical corporate job, like all of that, sometimes can be a little bit stressing, but you make it happen.
Hmm.
And you're not also creating cool characters or cool stories for us to enjoy. You're showing that dreams are possible, and I think that kind of positivity is something amazing and something super neat, especially now in this crazy day and era that suddenly we just want to kill each other over nothing. The fact that we can rely on people like you who is just showing us something because it's fun and because it's your dream, that is amazing. And I discover why you're pretty badass. So there you go.
No, I'm back at you. I think it's so important that people take the time to use their voices, and chat with others and elevate other. I think podcasts are great. I think people who take the time to really want to get to know somebody with these were very thoughtful and insightful questions. And I think that the fact that you're doing this is so cool, and it shows other people that their voices matter too, and that your perspective and your point of view is going to be unique, and people deserve to hear about it.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. That means a lot. Thank you.
Of
Yeah.
course.
I do want to thank also those who stayed the whole episode. Let us know what you think in the comments below, but also in the description below. You're going to find all of B Hale's social media. Let's follow her. Let's share some love, right? I mean, let's make her viral. And again, thank you for making this happen. Keep shining out there. Keep rocking. Keep kicking ass. Keep doing what you do. And I'll be seeing you in the next one.
Thanks for having me. Have a good one.
All right.